Hey everybody, and welcome back to Are Free TV. It is Wednesday, April 14th. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. And so we go ahead. It does not give medical or legal advice either. Okay. So thank you to everybody for supporting the channel. I so appreciate you keeping the channel going. It means so much to me, and it literally is how this channel keeps going. So I'm going to jump in straight with the news. Everybody's looking forward to what's coming up this weekend. We have on Friday and Saturday, the 16th and 17th, the Freedom Conference going on in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We will have General Flynn there, Sidney Powell there, Lynn Wood, and many, many, many others. Basically giving the expose on everything that's been going down with, the steal of our election, what's happening now, what's coming forth, and Right Side Broadcasting will be live streaming the entire event. I believe also Brighteon is going to try to live stream some of it as well, but I'll link it below, and we'll get ready for that on Friday and Saturday. And so going on from there, I want to, this is going to get into, of course, what is in the title here, which is the Cyber Polygon war game simulation that's coming out of the World Economic Forum that's going to happen in July. We'll get into that, but I want to cover some other things first. Of course, we have Bernie Madoff passing away today, dying of kidney failure in federal prison. His 150-year prison sentence that he got for his $65 billion Ponzi-type scheme that really was a Russian nesting doll type scenario, using the offloading, short selling of phantom stocks that really didn't exist to drive down prices. Super connected with massive amounts of Jewish philanthropic organizations. We had his niece, Shana Madoff, working for the FEC during this. But things that people don't remember, and I'll just mention JP Morgan here. JP Morgan had to pay out $543 million in the payoffs for Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. And that's a pittance compared to what JP Morgan was involved with. JP Morgan, who, is super connected to all of the Pornhub stuff. There's too much to get into with what I've covered in past videos. But one thing I did cover in a video, maybe a year ago now, was that Joe Biden and Jim Biden, and I believe one of the sons, and I'm not sure if it's Beau or Hunter, were also board members on the Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities LLC board. Joe Biden and Jim Biden were on that board. And of course, you try to get that into your search engines now, you can barely find it, but luckily I covered it quite a while ago, and so I can report on that knowing that that's the reality. They were on that board just as they were on the board of, the Sandusky Foundation out of Penn State, the pedophile Sandusky, and what went down there in Pennsylvania. And interestingly, this Pennsylvania connection, whether it is UPenn and what we have with Blinken, the Secretary of State, had been in charge of the Biden Foundation at UPenn. Okay, Pennsylvania all over with Biden here. Scranton Joe, right? Scranton Joe just makes me sick when I had to watch the laying in, the officer that was killed recently, listening to Joe Biden talk about himself constantly during that lying in state or lying in whatever they called it at the Capitol. Another police officer killed by Noah X, Mr. Nation of Islam, who killed that officer recently. Well, disgusting to listen to Joe talking about himself so much during that. But Scranton Joe, well, they're also now putting tons of the migrants into Pennsylvania. One of the places they're putting them is in the Pennsylvania International Academy in Harrisburg, and they've already received 146 girls, migrant girls, to this facility, and they have put a whole dormitory aside that holds up to 650 people at this dormitory at the Pennsylvania International Academy in Summit Township. And this is a Boeing 737 left from El Paso, Texas, contracted by the federal government to bring them to Erie, Pennsylvania, that then brought them down to this facility. And we have 150 federal employees being relocated there. Okay, we are told that anybody who wants to host or sponsor, any federal employee who wants to host or sponsor a migrant child, a refugee child, gets 4 months paid leave by our federal government with our taxpayer dollars to be part of this program. And so they go there now, 150 to this Pennsylvania International Academy. This is led by Sister Linda Yankowski, CEO of Pittsburgh-based Holy Family Institute. Again, another Jesuit-run organization to do with Joe Biden and his super close relationship with the Jesuits of Pelosi, Pope et al., running this massive human trafficking operation at the border with our taxpayer dollars. And we're going to get more into that soon. But I wanted to talk, before I get into the border and the cyber polygon, I wanted to just once again remember some of the people being arrested as Capitol protesters here, exercising their free speech rights at the Capitol, not doing anything wrong. And I want to just mention them. So we now have several more people who have been arrested, and I want to talk about Victoria White out of Minnesota. This is Gateway Pundit put this out very clearly today. Victoria White, mother of 4 out of Minnesota, who was at the Capitol, had been, going to see the Trump rally there, went to the Capitol, and when she saw people breaking windows into the Capitol, she tried to stop them. We have footage that shows that she tried to stop people breaking windows, tried to stop what was this deep state-led Antifa crowd breaking into the Capitol. She gets arrested now and facing 50 years in jail for basically doing nothing except trying to stop people from breaking windows at the Capitol. That is Victoria White. And then we also have another person arrested 2 days ago, the FBI with U.S. Marshals, 30 plus federal officers ramming down the door of Sam Montoya. And he is actually an InfoWars film editor, has worked for them for 5 years. He was there at the Capitol, and he had gotten footage actually of the Ashley Babbitt murder that happened there, the gunning down of Ashley Babbitt. And what's really interesting here is that, they don't want this footage to get out. And yet, with capturing Montoya, they will have, of course, try to push a plea deal to try to get something against Alex Jones and InfoWars, and that will be what they'll try to do with him. But John Sullivan, Jaden X, who was paid $70,000+ by a CNN, Anderson Cooper, and NBC to go and film the Capitol riots, was right there in there, paid in advance to go and do so. His father is a colonel in the Army in counterintelligence, retired now, and he basically gets out of jail quickly, has an ankle boot, but still gets to go to get permission to go do interviews, leave his home, attend events, etc., while the rest of the Capitol Hill protesters, nonviolent protests, are not able to get even out of jail, and they're looking at the sedition charges, all of this. And the thing is, we look at BLM, rioters, Antifa rioters, Somali flag raisers, in Minnesota in the last few days over the shooting of Daunte Wright, and compared to these people being held for conducting a protest over election stealing in the Capitol, being held without bail for no reason, for non-violent crimes and non-violent intent. And so then we also have the Ashley Babbitt shooter was acquitted of all charges. They were able to close the case on the Ashley Babbitt shooter. And the thing about this is that the man who killed Ashley Babbitt, they won't say it in the press. They will not give his identity out. And this is very disturbing because he's actually an African-American man who did kill Ashley Babbitt. And what is so awful is that, they quickly put Kim Potter's name out there, who killed Daunte Wright, who was literally the warrant for Daunte Wright. Why why Kim Potter was going to tase him and then accidentally shot him was because they knew him to be an armed individual, okay, in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, an armed individual who had tried to strangle at gunpoint a woman for $820 that he wanted for his rent, and that was the actual warrant that was out for his arrest, was this attempted strangulation at gunpoint. Okay, and we see this common theme here where you shoot somebody who is a career criminal, putting his Instagram videos out of him, posing with his gun, acting like a gangster, and actually trying to strangle somebody for money, gets killed in a not routine traffic stop, a dangerous traffic stop, and there's that. But what I'm trying to find here is Ashley Babbitt. Getting back to her, is that they won't tell you that the man who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt, that's Lieutenant Michael Leroy Byrd. Lieutenant Michael Leroy Byrd. And rollcall.com has put out a number of articles that have to do with Lieutenant Michael Leroy Byrd, who shot Ashley Babbitt, where he had previously left his firearm in the Capitol Hill bathroom. There had been multiple strange occurrences with this Lieutenant Michael Leroy Byrd, who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt without unarmed woman, going through into the Capitol, rotunda there, where she was unarmed. They could have just captured her. They could have just, not shot her at point blank range. And again, case closed today. It's over. No charges to him, Lieutenant Michael Leroy Byrd. But of course, Kim Potter, who shot Daunte Wright, she is now, of course, fired from the police force. We have the commissioner stepping down, and she is charged with third-degree manslaughter or second-degree manslaughter of Daunte Wright, who was who had a warrant for choking out a woman at gunpoint. Yeah, so there's that, and then so we have that, and then we also have, beyond the man I mentioned there, Sam Montoya, arrested for filming during the Capitol protest. Well, then we also have, of course, the beating and the left blind in one eye of another man who, sorry, I got to get my things together here. Got to find the right one here. Of the man who is in jail for participating in the Capitol protest and being in the Capitol building, and he has now had one of his eyes kicked out, beaten severely, and there's no justice for him whatsoever. That's Ryan Samsell, blind in one eye, skull fractured. Basically, they withhold toilet paper from him for days. This is a Capitol protester of the election steal. And he was beaten severely by apparently black guards in federal prison where he's being held, who said to him, apparently, "We hate all white people." And they beat him. They left him blind in one eye, his skull fractured. Ryan Samsell, these people are being held for 23 hours a day in solitary, 1 hour out of solitary, for doing the thing of protesting that our government has been taken over in an occupation in a stolen election. And that's why, again, I put your attention towards that conference that's coming up on Friday with some of the leaders trying to fight that, who will be there during that time. And so now I'm going to move on. I'll get into the human trafficking at the border after this, and the newest about that. But right now, I'm going to jump into what is called Cyber Polygon. And Cyber Polygon is a wargaming event, very much like Event 201 with the COVID, again, out of World Economic Forum, and probably, I'm sure, very much involving the Gates Foundation. I haven't had time to look into all the particulars. I'm getting into it, and I'll raise the general sense here so you can understand it. And the reason I bring it up, this is supposed to happen on July 9th of this year. They had one last year as well, Cyber Polygon, wargaming event for what they're calling the cyber pandemic. You'll remember that Bill Gates very recently said, during this last year, said the worst pandemic would be a cyber pandemic. So the man who creates viruses in computers and then creates antivirus software, who creates viruses and patents them through Purebright Institute and in conjunction with Fauci, who's getting called out all over the place right now, which is interesting. Even Washington Times putting out a huge article about is this the father of the pandemic, about Fauci. So coming out all over about NIAID funding the research to do with the Wuhan lab, to do with the gain of function, everything that's been doing this ridiculous, this very effective destruction of all of Western civilization. Well, Cyber Polygon is the war game event like Event 201 that is going to attempt to shut down the entire internet. And within that, what that means is all of our systems. And we've all been expecting it. We've been expecting it, whether it is, a reset of some kind, whether it is the, an EMP, China style over the USA. But no, the World Economic Forum says this is going to be everywhere simultaneously. And I'll just bring to your attention Polygon, Cyber Polygon. Polygon represents the number 13. And, in mystery schools or the secret society, deep Masonic stuff, this gets into Arachne the spider, not in the good way, not in, different spiritual circles that believe other things. This has to do with the spider, the control, the web, the interweb of things. And this is about really transhumanist transcendence that 13 represents. It is about the simulation capture, and what I'll get into here as being the Internet of Bodies. Not the Internet of Things, but the Internet of Bodies. And they clearly delineate this in this Cyber Polygon 2021 to occur on July 9th, a wargaming event. When they did the Event 201 back in 2019 in October, it was 2 months after that that we saw really the takeoff of the COVID pandemic operation steal the economy of the world. And if we look at 2 months after July 9th, 2021, that brings us really up to the 20th anniversary of the of 9/11. It's the 20th anniversary. We had today, of course, Joe Biden coming out and saying, we'll have the troops out of Afghanistan, that giant grift, giant swapping of technology and money and just stealing of taxpayer trillions into Afghanistan to fund everything like what happened in Ukraine, the Open Societies Foundation, the funding of ISIS, the creation of ISIS, the takeover of Syria, all of it being funded out of Afghanistan. Well, now Biden says, oh no, by 9/11, we'll have the troops out of Afghanistan, right? And well, Trump wanted to have them out by today, basically. And so when we look at this and this Cyber Polygon wargaming event, this is very interesting that 2 months after its wargaming thing is 9/11, but it's moving faster and faster all the time. They're just putting us on this accelerated kind of future shock. Alvin Toffler, the guy who wrote Future Shock. Well, yeah, they're just constantly accelerating everything, so it could come sooner than, it might even come sooner than the actual simulation. But let's get into what Cyber Polygon is. So this is the World Economic Forum, and they are partnered with, this is their Center for Cybersecurity out of the World Economic Forum, right? Who are being sued, by the way, by the German Rainer Fuellmich, who is a lawyer in both Germany and California, able to practice law in both places, wanting to get a class action civil suit in order to bring criminal charges, in order to bring a Nuremberg 2.0 style thing into The Hague for all of the crimes committed through the COVID lockdowns, to get compensation for everybody. This is a covfefe type style here, a covfefe of, we sue the crap out of all these criminals, Fauci, Gates, et al., who created in the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, the head of the WHO, Tedros, all of them, that created this planetary attack of COVID in order to steal all of our money and to get compensation for everybody who lost money due to COVID. So that's very exciting. I'll link his videos below, Rainer Fuellmich. But back to the Cyber Polygon. So they're partnered with Banco Santander, Interpol, okay, and then ICANN, of course, ICANN, which is the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, right? This is every ISP, every URL, and Barack Obama gave those over. They were in U.S. control, and Obama gave that control to the UN, largely run and regulated by people like the World Economic Forum, the EU, insiders, deep staters, the Bilderbergers, etc., through the UN, controlling the internet and closely connected with Serco, right? And Serco, of course, being the massive corporation, 40,000 plus employees, that controls much of what happens with IT within our federal government here, to do with the Department of Defense, all of the systems in there. Serco owns the handshake money. Anytime in the internet, when you log on or click on something, or there is a digital handshake between you and a internet website, there's a handshake that happens, and money transfers, and Serco gets all of the money from that. That's largely ruled by the Crown, by the Queen, by the Queen's Privy Council. The Clintons are huge in there, and it also has hugely to do with refugee services, digital tagging, digital tagging of inmates, digital tagging of refugees, control of refugee movements, there's been scandals out of Serco to do with mass sexual assault. It's connected to what happened in Haiti and, of course, what is now happening at our southern border, all interconnected here. So who else is involved? We have MTS, the mobile telesystems, Sberbank, Ericsson, Trend Micro, Visa, okay, and it goes on from there. But let's get into what they're going to do. So Cyber Polygon, this wargaming event for wargaming a cyber pandemic in 2021, is the world's largest technical training exercise for corporate teams online conference featuring senior officials from international organizations and leading corporations, right? And this is about basically securing the development of cyber ecosystems, which means basically how do we turn the entire world to be controlled by cyberspace, okay, by what's coming with the universal digital ID, the global ID, the cyber, the cryptocurrency ID system, the QR codes, and what will be the your right to buy and sell based on a global credit score. When you say universal, it sounds all good. No, a globalist, totalitarian social credit system, that is what they're coming up with after they can complete this cyber calamity that they're planning for us. So Klaus Schwab, the co-founder of World Economic Forum and director there, he says that the pandemic will be worse than COVID pandemic. It will spread as a digital virus through every device connected to the internet. He's saying that, COVID was just a blip compared to a cyber pandemic, just as Bill Gates has said, and that this will go through every device. And what they say in what they're planning is that they want to shut down the internet for a day, right? Remember the 15 days to stop the spread, right? They want to shut down the internet for a day in order to save us from the cyber pandemic that is coming towards us. And that's what they outline here in their Cyber Polygon 2020. They talk about in their the last one they did last year, is that this is what Klaus Schwab said. He said it will bring a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, and society as a whole. COVID-19 will seem like a small inconvenience by comparison. And he's put this out in his Fourth Industrial Revolution book and his COVID-19 and the Great Reset book, both by Klaus Schwab out there. You can find them, get them through your library or buy them. And then we go on from there to this. Okay, what would the takedown mean in the cyber pandemic that they are basically telling us? Like they tell us everything. It's predictive programming. They have to tell you it is the way that that Luciferians work. They have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it, and now they're telling us here. So it will take down medical devices that people are dependent on for their lives if they have them. It will take down the Internet of Things, meaning smart homes. If you have a smart home with your Nest system that controls your heat, or your alarm system, or your Hello Alexa, turn on the lights, all that crap, which hopefully you don't do. It will take down all of that. It will take down the 5G grid. It will take down the 4G grid. It will take down the grids. It will take down the Internet of Bodies. Okay, and the Internet of Bodies I'll get into in a second, but this is the ecosystems of digitally connected humans, which is what they want this takedown to then give birth to, as I was saying, where we're all digitally connected as human energy systems that must have the mark in one way or another, whether it's a QR code, whether it is a digital global ID, or they hope to get it into your body and control you that way through the 060606 Gates patent, which everybody's been talking about now for over a year, that cryptocurrency based on biological tasks that that the Gates Foundation has patented. And this will mean basically you take your drugs, you take your vaccines, you take everything they tell you to take, and they monitor you digitally, your biological systems, to make sure you're complying. But we'll get into that more. So the other things it's going to take down, the global financial systems. Oh, just that. Just take down the global financial systems, take down the energy grids, take down the water treatment facilities, take down all government IT systems, again, CERCO, take down the military and defense infrastructure, again, CERCO. And of course, as I said, they say they want to take it down just for a day, to do something with it. They're going to fix it in a day, one day, to stop the spread of the cyber virus, the cyber pandemic, right? And so the Internet of Bodies controlling human behavior with total authoritarian, totalitarian surveillance gets into this. Again, that crypto-based digital ID that I talked about, the QR code, social credit score system brought in. You can only be safe. We had to take everything down, but if you want to get back online, you have to have a digital ID, a universal globalist ID that marks you. You have to have, of course, now sign up for the social credit score so we know that you're able, that you qualify to be part of the internet, you dangerous human. That you might not qualify because you do bad behaviors. You do things like things on social media posts we don't like. You vote for the wrong people. You live in the wrong place. You use energy in the wrong ways. You drive a gasoline car. You drive it too much. You use energy too much heat, too much electricity. You use your land in the wrong way. You're not sharing it. You're not performing the social systems, the social programs that we want, where we want to have private land be taken over to be used for social programs. You're not being part of that. You haven't taken your vaccines, you haven't taken the drugs we've recommended through our telehealth. That is mandatory now once you sign up for this social credit score that you must check in once a week to get your your telehealth mental health score, okay, by, they're lovely doctors. They're willing to help you out. And of course, you must take the drugs and the vaccines, and those will show up on these on their biological reading systems that will be, of course, recorded, whether it's through your phone or the implantation. I talked about in my last video, of course, the hydrogel implant going into the Navy, expected to come this summer, just as the Navy is being required by July, and all military, they're pushing by July, you must take the vax or else you cannot use all the regular services of the military. You'll be basically blackballed and treated accordingly. So so we have medical surveillance, mental health surveillance, telehealth, vaccines, mandatory drugs, and just the total control of human behavior. The total control of human behavior and the surveillance of human behavior. And that's what this cyber pandemic is going to usher in, just like COVID ushered in the medical tyranny. The cyber pandemic is going to usher in the social credit score tyranny on a mass scale that is beyond what we're experiencing now. And then they'll throw in the SPARS, they'll throw in the next medical pandemic, and they'll get the children, the pregnant women, all of it. And that's what they're heading for. And I'll get more into this in coming videos, get deeper into what this cyber polygon is all about from World Economic Forum. And hopefully, with any luck from God's grace, we will be able to prevent it from totally taking over. So moving from there, in the last couple minutes here, I'm just going to talk about the border. It continues to be a complete total human trafficking, child rape, functioning through our federal government and using our taxpayer dollars, definitely using, of course, the Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador situation, where they're just funneling tons of children and young pregnant women, but you look like pregnant girls, like barely out of their teens, still look like they're in their teens. We are seeing down the border in McAllen, Texas, dozens and dozens of pregnant girls looking literally like teenagers being just brought in on buses. This is chain migration, right? It is the Flores Agreement. And it is, yeah, it's Anchor Baby. They're just bringing up tons of young girls from Honduras. It's all being done, as I said, through the Catholic Charities. And there's also a new organization who was exposed by the War Room today called Southwest Keys, southwestkey.org. This is an unaccompanied youth immigrant shelter system, again, totally run and funded by the Department of Health and Human Services out of Texas, Arizona, and California. They have 18 states that staff shelters that are unaccompanied youth immigrant shelters. And again, they specifically do Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvadoran children. And this is, funded by our taxpayer dollars out of Health and Human Services and run by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. And it's based on that 1997 Flores Agreement, where children can't be held in the Border Patrol giant camps for more than 72 hours, although they are. I talked about deployed resources. And in my past videos, the last week, deployed resources being given, something like close to $500 million in government contracts to build these giant tent cities. And these tent cities are expanding where these children are being held. And again, massive amounts of sexual abuse going on to the children. It is literally a human farming scenario. And they're being sold off. They're being literally sold off. And we have people that are called eagles in the cartel. We have the coyotes, but then we have the eagles. The eagles are like the team of, cleaner type folks that get to be part of funneling these children from like McAllen, Texas, and other border areas through the airport system, where they are greeted by a Border Patrol agent within the airport to fly on United Airlines, American Airlines, to bring children and young women, pregnant women, with one person who might be like 18 years old who speaks English in charge of all these children, to fly them to their destination of sponsors, okay? And these sponsors are not background checked. There is literally a human trafficking scenario going on at our border and being run by our government, and it is absolutely horrific. So I will leave it there. I will link everything I can below about that. A couple little ditties on the way out here. NFL players who don't get the shots, okay, at the NFL, won't be allowed at training facilities anymore very shortly, or they won't be allowed to be around other players if they're not willing to get the shots. Now they're forced to wear those freedom type tracking bracelets. Again, those are run by Serco. Okay, I've talked about it so much. Run by the Queen's Privy Council, Lord Moloch Brown. He's very interconnected with Dominion voting systems, which we're getting more and more coming out about all the fraud out of Michigan, Wisconsin. Those lawsuits still happening. Arizona as well. Still going on, folks. This is still happening. But yeah, Serco, running the tracking bracelets for the NFL. They're freedom bracelets, like in Israel. Get your own freedom bracelet. And that they will have to wear these tracking bracelets until they get vaccinated. But in the meantime, they will not be allowed around training facilities and other players, basically meaning your career is destroyed if you won't take the shots. And then we also hear about young social media influencers, these ones on Instagram and TikTok and just are young, whatever. They're being offered thousands of dollars to get the shots and to do it on social media, to do it live stream, or to do a selfie of the shot or the vaccination certificate. They're being paid thousands of dollars to do this. Who is paying them? Well, I wonder. Okay, so I might leave it there, folks. We're seeing people fighting back across the world, fighting back against the lockdowns. huge things going on. We need to be part of it. And we also need to be part of standing up for the Capitol protesters who wanted to stop our government being stolen in an illegal, fraudulent election. Standing up for them being locked in as political prisoners in federal facilities with no court dates. Again, as I said, the man who shot Ashley Babbitt at point blank range without any warning, without any attempt to capture an unarmed woman, his case is closed now. His identity being kept from the public. But the rest of these people who did nothing violent, are being held for months and months with no bail and basically bogus charges. Like Sam Montoya, whose house was just raided by 30 plus FBI and marshals in Austin, Texas, he literally, all he's being charged with is making loud comments at the Capitol, right? And the Victoria White, the mother of 4, who is now in custody for literally stopping people from breaking windows at the Capitol. So we have to also be willing to get out there and demand that these political prisoners get released, and to make our voices known that we won't accept it. So call all of your representatives and organize in your local areas to make this known, that we have now what looks like hundreds of people being held in federal custody without bail for this Capitol protest that happened. So I will leave it there, folks. I wish you the best. Prayer wave continuously. I'm 6 p.m., yes, but constantly all the time, just prayer wave to catch that resonance for all of us across the globe that are fighting tyranny right now. We're on the precipice here of, are we going to be able to save this country? Are we going to be able to stop this Cloward and Piven race war, scenario taking over what's really happening, which is the takeover of our government in a communist, globalist regime that's happening under Joe Biden, under quickly. Even though he's not in charge, we know he can barely speak or walk, but the people behind him are all part of the giant globalist rollout here. So I will leave it there. And just, I didn't say it before, but William Evans was the Capitol police officer who was killed by Noah X, right? Mr. Nation of Islam there in the Capitol, where he was laid in state, or laid in honor. And we had, Schumer and Pelosi doing their political awful speech during his lie-in there. And then we got Dementia Joe getting up there and talking about himself and his life and everything about him during this horrible display of just complete and utter mockery, really, of this man's death, William Evans, and may he rest in peace. So yeah, okay, folks, we are free. We keep going. And if you want to support the channel, there's ways to do so below. Dollars, Bitcoin, so appreciated. Helps it keep going. I need to be able to keep going, and so I ask for your support. And of course, with You Are Free TV, I do a giveaway every month on this channel. This month, we'll be giving away a set of Tetrogen to people who donate to the channel. You'll be instantly set a 20% off code for buying Tetrogen, this incredible metabolic healer and booster weight loss supplement that is all organic, small batch phytonutrient ingredients that, yes, it will help you lose weight, get ready for the spring and summer, but it does that by really boosting your metabolic syndrome, by boosting your metabolic system, getting rid of metabolic syndrome, getting rid of leptin resistance in the brain, and also insulin resistance, fighting insulin resistance. But it does it hugely through fighting inflammation. And so it's incredible about fighting inflammation in the body, and that a lot of people love this supplement because they find that a lot of their pain goes away. And there's also a 10% off code for this below, as well as Munulex, again by the same producers of Tetrogen. Munulex is an incredible immune system builder and regulator. So it helped to regulate your immune system if it's running high, but also just really heal, boost, get your immune system super active for fighting all of this, all these walking virus factories of the people that have taken all the multiple shots that we have to come in contact every day with their gain of function mRNA super active transhumanist assaults on their bodies. Who could have believed it? But here we are. We just keep going, folks. Oh, and there's 10% off below on the Munulex. This goes in the giveaway as well. One person gets selected of the donators from the month to receive a bottle of Munulex, as well as 10% off. The code's below. 20% off sent to you if you donate to the channel. Oh, thanks for listening, folks. You are free. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll get back deeper into the things I talked about today, especially with that Cyber Polygon. Yikes. See you soon. You are free.